Good evening. Welcome in to the Yuengling Live PowerMizzou.com post-game show after Missouri's 27-24 win over the Iowa Hawkeyes in the TransPerfect Music City Bowl. I promise it's the only time I'm going to call it the TransPerfect Music City Bowl. From here on out, it's simply going to be the Music City Bowl. Gabe DeArmond here, publisher of PowerMizzou.com, with you live. Once again, as always, brought to you by our friends at America's oldest brewery. If you do not know by now, that is Yuengling. They have a brewery in Tampa. It's the off season. Maybe you take a trip down there. They have one in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. It is the original one. Maybe you go check them out there. Maybe you just go out somewhere to your local liquor store, gas station, grocery store, whatever. Pick yourself up some Yuengling. Celebrate a Missouri Bowl win that leaves the Tigers 10-3 on the season. We are going to talk about it all here. I'm going to fill the time with you, with your comments, with your voicemails, everything until Jarod Hamilton gets back up to the press box at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. He's going to come on to finish it. We're hoping to finish this thing by 6:30-ish so that I can go over and watch Missouri wrap up a good day in sports by beating Alabama State in basketball. Welcome all of you once again. Our friends at Yuengling, we appreciate. Take care of them. Support the sponsors. They've been with us all football season long, so we ask you to do that. Let's get into this one. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts. We're going to run through some of your comments. Then I've got about 10 voicemails I'm going to play from Tiger fans. If more come in, I will try to get them uploaded. Can't make you any promises because I am currently a one-man show. The producer is off on Christmas break. Got another guy starting in January, but we'll do our best. Anyway, so here is where I mostly stand on this. Missouri just won a football game over a Big Ten team with Tavoris Jones on the field, with Logan Muckey catching a pass, with James Madison on the field, with 4 freshmen in the transfer portal, without the following players on offense: Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, Mookie Cooper, Brett Norfleet, Mekhi Miller, Armand Mimbo, Connor Tollison. Guys, that's like 6 of your top 12 players, 15 players. Marquise Johnson was hurt for a little bit. Eli Drinkwitz used 4 running backs. He rode Brady Cook in one of Brady's best games, a perfect way for that kid to go out. Bowl games have become a battle of attrition, right? You don't have your whole team. What today meant was that Missouri's half team, backup team, whatever, is better than Iowa's half team, backup team, whatever. These were not the teams that played 12 games during the regular season. It was what was left of the team because due to the timing of college football, the outgoing portal players are mostly gone. The incoming portal players are mostly not here or entirely not here. So you're dealing with like half a deck. And Missouri's half a deck was better than Iowa's half a deck, and they deserve credit for that. Very entertaining game. Not the most well-played game ever. I'm sure there are some issues. We're going to talk about them. Most of them were in the first half. But Missouri found a way to win a football game when it was at far, far less than full strength. I'm going to run through, in the order they come to my mind, the players we should talk about as the MVPs in this one. And number 1 might surprise you because number 1 is Blake Craig. I've been tough on the kid this year. He's missed 10 kicks and maybe an extra point. I can't remember. He has been very up and down. I have advocated that Missouri should go into the transfer portal for a kicker. I no longer feel that way. Missouri has its kicker. He made a 51-yard field goal to, I believe, tie the game at 24. And then he made a 56-yard field goal for the game-winning points. Blake Craig, have a day, kid. Absolutely very impressive as a freshman. Number 2, Brady Cook. Sixth highest total offensive output of Brady Cook's career. He had, let me find it real quick, 287 yards passing, 54 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. That is 341 yards of total offense. It is by far the most he has had this season. It is the 6th most he has had in his career. He protected the football. He did it after a first drive where I thought all of his flaws showed. Like after the first drive, people on our board were already wanting Brady Cook benched. You knew that wasn't going to happen, but it did show his weaknesses. He was standing and patting the ball. He wasn't decisive. He wasn't throwing. He was waiting for guys to be high school wide open. The drive stalled out. And then all of a sudden, drive number 2, boom. Guys are running wide open. He's hitting them. He takes off on the ground. He did a lot of things right. Went through a lull. Wasn't perfect. We got the entire Brady Cook experience in this game. Bad drive, great. Hang on, what happened? Oh, look up and you won a one-score game. It made the drive to win the game. And it wasn't the last drive. It wasn't like Auburn. It wasn't like, Arkansas has been at times, these drives that are in the last minute. The winning score came with about 4.5 minutes left. But Brady Cook made that drive. And then Iowa's quarterback, Brendan Sullivan, I apologize for having to think about his name because the play-by-play announcer called him 14 different names during this one. Brendan Sullivan didn't make that drive. Brady Cook did. That counts for a lot. Number 3, Marquise Johnson. 7 catches, 122 yards, touchdown on a day where we knew Luther wasn't playing. We knew Mookie wasn't playing. We knew Norfleet wasn't playing. And then all of a sudden, Theo Weiss wasn't playing. I mean, somebody had to step up. I thought it was going to be Josh Manning. Josh Manning did have a touchdown run, but it was Marquise Johnson. He did a little bit of everything. Career high catches, career high yards, first touchdown of the season. All right, so those are the offensive guys and special teams. Let's talk a little defense. At halftime, nobody was given any awards to this Missouri defense and not to Corey Batoon. A lot of calls for Corey Batoon's job at halftime. And Missouri didn't look very good. Here are the numbers in the second half for Iowa. 112 total yards. Fourth quarter, 24 yards, no first downs. Entire second half, 3 points. Game's last 60 minutes and Missouri's defense in the last 60 minutes. Let me just list off the guys that I thought made game-changing defensive plays in that one. Toriano Pride had an interception. Didn't lead to anything because Missouri lost like 24 yards on its next play, but had an interception to stall an Iowa drive. Tristan Newson had a huge play on a third down. Johnny Walker had a sack on Iowa's first play of the last drive that put them in 2nd and 23. And then on 4th and a foot, Corey Flagg leaps over the center. Like if that's an extra point, that's a penalty. You can't do that. I guess you can do it on regular defense, although I'm not sure these officials knew what you could or could not do. But anyway, leaps over the line, blows up the quarterback sneak. Dalen Carnell finishes it off. Missouri wins the football game because they stop Iowa on 4th and a foot. I mean, absolutely, second half, Missouri's defense absolutely showed up and allowed the offense to do what this offense has mostly done in the last 2 years, which is win a close football game. That's it. So those are my initial thoughts. We got over 400 people here. Really appreciate it. I know there's a ton of comments. I'm going to go back through some of those right now. I'm not going to get to all of them. I will put up what I see that I think deserves some discussion, and then I'll get to some of the voicemails. Let's talk about Mizzou legend Brady Cook. Sean Kurtz said, number 2 in wins, number 4 in passing yards, over 10,000 total yards in a career. Look, Brady doesn't have the physical ability that Drew Lock had or Blaine Gabbert had. He is not the transformative figure that Brad Smith was. He didn't quite reach the heights that Chase Daniel did. I think he had more talent around him than Drew Lock did, probably less talent around him, at least offensively, than Chase Daniel did, certainly. But I thought Brady went out today the way Brady deserved to go out. He had one of his better games. He made enough plays, not perfect. Like, I don't think, if you ask anybody who's the best quarterback at Missouri in the last 25 years, I don't think very many people say Brady Cook. If you ask who are the best 3 quarterbacks at Missouri in the last 25 years, I'm not sure very many people say Brady Cook. But that does not diminish, like, quarterback. There are 22 guys on the field, 24, 28 if you get to special teams guys, right? Brady won football games, and he wasn't necessarily always the reason his team won. But here's one thing Brady almost never did. He almost never beat his team. He was almost never the reason his team lost a game. I understand. Threw a late interception against LSU, threw a late interception against, I get it. That happens. That's football. But Brady Cook, far more often than not, made the plays to win football games for Missouri over the last 3 years, but really 2 years. He ends his career, let's see, he was 6-8, followed by 11, followed by 21-5. So he's 27-13 as a starter. Again, quarterback wins, like, it's not that simple, but it does count for something. I'm glad Brady went out this way. Like, had this been a loss and, Brady doesn't make that game-winning drive, then I think the way Missouri fans remember him, fair or not, and probably not, changes. So I'm glad that Brady had this day and got to go out a winner. I think he deserved that. K-Town, that's how you end the year. Back-to-back bowl champs, 2 big wins for the program moving forward. Can't wait till next season. So I want to say this. Like, I don't think this really means anything for next year. And I don't say that to be negative. I had an entire section in Instant Reaction written if Missouri lost, saying, I don't think this means anything for next year. Again, this was like a half a team versus half a team. Missouri won. It's great. You're 10-3. You can finish in the top 15. I don't know exactly what the rankings are and who's won or lost. I'm not sure if Missouri will, but like, that should not be negated. That is important for the momentum of the program in the future. Absolutely. Eli Drinkwitz, I'm sure, is talking about all that in the post-game press conference in Nashville, and he should. He should sell that on the recruiting trail, in the transfer portal, all that. I am not denigrating any of that. But like last year, you won the Cotton Bowl over Ohio State, and you had all these guys coming back. I thought last year's game translated some to this year, because what it did was it gave you all this offseason buzz, and it had you ranked number 11 in the preseason, whereas if you would have lost that game, you might have been ranked 21. Now, ultimately, obviously, Missouri didn't end up number 11, but Missouri had a whole bunch of offseason buzz because of that Cotton Bowl win. I don't think you get that off a 27-24 win over an 8-5 Iowa team with a backup quarterback. And that's not denigrating this win. That's not saying this is not a good win. Overall program momentum is important. I don't think this is like a springboard to next year so much as it is allowing you to say, look, this is what we do now. We win 10 games. We win bowl games. We're going to be in the mix every year. Even if we maybe don't get there every year, we're going to have a shot. So, I think it's big in that regard. Had Missouri lost it, I don't think it's devastating. 10-3 sounds better than 9-4, certainly. You end the season with, would Missouri win its last 3 games of the year, something like that? Maybe 4, I think 3. So, all good things, certainly. And this is a day that Mizzou fans should feel good about, no question. How do we listen to the postgame or see the postgame? Ray, you're on it, my man. You're right here. So I hope you're hearing me and seeing me. I feel like somebody would have told me by now if they hadn't. 3 years of bitching about our quarterback. Thank you, Brady Cook from Wentzville Walking Stick. Yeah, look, quarterback's tough, man. And I'll say this about Brady. He handled it well. He never fired back. He probably wanted to sometimes. I certainly would have at times, but he handled it well. But also that comes with the territory, especially when you're making maybe seven figures like most quarterbacks do. That's just part of it. I'm not saying it's fair, unfair. It's what it is. Robert, appreciate the super chat, man. Guys, we never asked for them. Always appreciate them, though. We're up near 500 people. So appreciate all of you who are being here. While you are here, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, all that. We're going to start doing some daily video stuff here later in the week. So this channel will be active. But Robert, appreciate the super chat. The Gabbard interception in 2010 left a sour taste. So I'm glad Cook went out a winner. So this is funny. I was actually having this conversation with a friend during the game. You guys who are on this show, you guys who subscribe to my website, who do this every day, where Missouri Athletics is a 364 day a year thing. I think maybe you take Christmas Day off. Like you guys remember the 2010 loss, no question, to Iowa. Most people don't. Like this game today, you're going to remember it. I bet the Iowa message boards are a mess. I bet they're fire friends. He punts too much. He can't do this, can't do that. All that. Get a quarterback. All that is happening on Iowa message boards. Come Friday morning, outside of Missouri's fan base and Iowa's fan base, there's not one person who's going to know who won the Music City Bowl or what the score was. Same as if I bring up the 2010 Insight Bowl to somebody who is not a Missouri or Iowa fan, they have no idea. I understand those are not the people we deal with here. We deal with the people who do remember that game, who remember 2004 Troy and 10 or 2005 New Mexico and 2013 Auburn and 2014 Indiana. I get that. That is not representative, I think, of the general fan base. And that's what people mean. And that's what I mean when you say bowl games aren't important. It's not that you don't want to win. It's not that the diehard fans don't put any stock in them. They do. The guys on the field are trying their hardest, all that. I just mean broader picture, broader scale. Like, what does this mean for Missouri football writ large in the program? I don't know, but it was a fun day. Good day. A lot happier show. A lot more people on here than if they would have lost. So I like that. Ray, you figured out how to watch us, man. Appreciate the super chat. As always, my guy. Thank you very much for that. Again, guys, that's the way to guarantee that your comment gets on the show. We've got 530 people, and there's zero chance I'm going to get every comment on the screen. If you want to make sure, if you think you got something really important to say, absolutely put it up there. Philip Horsley talking about the Kirby Moore effect. And I don't know, Philip, if you mean that as a good thing or a bad thing. But like, I think some of the Kirby Moore slander should stop, right? He had a lot to do with winning a football game without all those guys I talked about at the beginning. Not every play works. I'm not saying Kirby had a great year. It wasn't as good as last year. There were some question marks. I thought they ran Brady too much. I thought they didn't use Marquise Johnson enough. Thought they didn't find enough ways to get Luther the ball, all that. But like Kirby Moore didn't forget how to coach football. He did if he was a great OC last year, he's still a good OC. He still knows what he's doing. So again, Philip, I don't know if that was meant as a positive or a negative comment, but I just kind of took it. Wentzville has the Yuengling and the Modelo in hand. Appreciate that, man. I would argue Yuengling and Yuengling. Modelo, not a sponsor, but hey, if they want to talk, we can talk. But I support Yuengling in both hands. But you do you. Appreciate that tonight. Let's see. The refs came from a non-power conference. Okay, let's talk about the refs because, guys, I promise if Missouri had lost this game, that's all we would be talking about. It would be the refs screwed this and the refs screwed that, and they were bad. The brief targeting call on Caleb Flagg, absolutely awful. I thought the late hit on Jeremiah Beasley was atrocious. I thought the call on Eddie Kelly, while I understood why they called it and it was a dumb play, I didn't think it was penalty worthy. Frankly, I thought the same thing on the late hit out of bounds by Iowa. Not the first one they missed. On Missouri's first drive, Brady Cook was hit late, and that should have been a penalty. I'm talking about the one in the fourth quarter that I think extended a Missouri drive. I thought that was a pretty soft call. The big one I know was the second quarter hit on Theo Weiss. I had the discussion on our board. By the letter of the law, should it have been a penalty? People convinced me it probably should have, especially because I'm pretty sure it's what caused Theo Weiss to miss the second half of the game. I don't want to get in a fight about this. I don't want to make the whole thing. Watching that game made me realize, like, we got to let guys play football at some point. And yeah, some of them are going to get hurt sometimes. And I'm not saying that's obviously what you want. You don't want Theo Weiss on the sideline for the second half of his final college football game. That's not my point. But like the Iowa defensive back there, like he didn't launch at Theo Weiss. He was in his way. There was helmet to helmet contact. So again, if by letter of the law, that's either defenseless receiver or helmet, I get it. I also don't know how you play defense sometimes if these things are penalties. Same thing with Jeremiah Beasley. Like, what am I supposed to tell him? Just don't touch the quarterback? Like, you're going full speed around the edge. He lets the ball go. You can't take half a step and hit him. It's really, really hard to play defense with a crew that is going to call it the way this crew called it today. Mizzou Blues, appreciate the super chat, man. Not too proud to admit it. Doubted Cook almost every step of the way. Felt like his biggest supporters force-fed the idea of him before it was earned, and he proved a lot of people wrong. I'm sorry, been a fun 2 years. Yeah. Look, and there's room for nuance here, right? You don't have to say Brady Cook was perfect and he's the best quarterback to ever play at Mizzou, and he did all, but like he also doesn't suck. And Brady Cook proved a lot of people wrong. It's not message board posters. It's not commenters here. It's not people on Twitter. It's coaches. It's media. It's probably almost everyone that's not related to him. Nobody thought Brady Cook was going to have this career, guys. Nobody thought you'd be talking about the third leading passer in the history of Missouri football. Now, some of that is he plays more games. They throw the ball more, all that. Some of it's like stats compiling a little bit. But again, 27 wins. That's what you can't argue with. So if you doubted Brady Cook, I don't think you should feel bad about that. That's okay. A lot of people doubted Brady Cook. If you buried Brady Cook, if you trashed Brady Cook, if you, even in the midst of these last 2 years, were screaming for anybody but Brady Cook, I'm not going to say you should feel bad. I'm just going to say you were wrong. We're gonna stick there. You're just wrong, and that's okay. We've all been wrong. Jock Horror said that game had him ripping bongs for 4 quarters. So good for you, Jack. I hope you're relaxed and all that. Todd Alexander, where does this season rank? Top 10 all time? Yeah, I think it's Missouri's 8th 10-win season. So I mean, it's top 8 right there. Is this season to me is very 2010 like. Missouri ended that season 10-4, 9-4 in the regular season. Beat Northwestern in the Alamo Bowl, I think. It felt like it should. No, I'm sorry. 08 was Northwestern in the Alamo Bowl. 2010 was Iowa actually in the Insight Bowl. So I'm going to have to look up the records that I'm talking about. But like it was a good year. It was not a great year, right? Like, what's Missouri's best win this year? Well, it's probably Iowa, and that was fine. Like, it was a good year. It wasn't an incredible year. 2010, Missouri finished 10-3, finished 18th in the country. I'm going to just run through the games that year. They beat Illinois in the season opener. They beat McNeese State, beat San Diego State on the TJ Moe play, beat Miami, Ohio, beat Colorado, beat A&M, beat Oklahoma. They're 7-0, 7th in the country. Go to Nebraska, get run all over by Roy Halou. Go to Texas Tech, just jump out 14-0, completely lose their minds offensively, lose 24-17. They then beat K-State, beat Iowa State, beat Kansas, finished 10-2 in the regular season, did not go to the Big 12 title game, lost to Iowa in the Insight Bowl. That's about what this year is to me. Like, it's one of the best years you've had. It's not a year that 20 years from now we're going to be talking about the way we talk about 2007, or 10 years from now the way we talk about 2013, or the way people talk about 1960 or 1969. So it's a top 10 season in Missouri history. I don't think it's a top 5 season in Missouri history. I would say 07, 13, 14, 60, and 69 are probably the top 5 off the top of my head. So this was a really good year. Just not like top shelf elite year. Let's see. I tell you what, guys, let's give my voice a break for a minute. Let's check out some of the voicemails. I got like 9 or 10 of them here off the bat. As I say, I have not listened to these. I do not know what they're going to say. I am not responsible for what you're about to hear.
Gabe. I am here at Nissan Stadium. I'm in the box. Got lucky enough to be invited and won. And let me just tell you, that was one of the worst defensive performances I've ever seen in my entire life. Corey Batoon, or should I say Buffoon, should not be on the plane ride home, nor should Eric Link. He might want to stay back for Nashville hot chicken anyways. I am not happy with how this is going. Just saw Weiss's out. Gabe, this will be an embarrassing loss if it happens. Hope's not gone, MIZ.
Obviously, a halftime voicemail there. I think Corey Batoon is allowed to keep his job. Eric Link, special team's not great. I'll listen to that. But this is why we play 60 minutes, guys. The one issue I really have with this, and that is not the only person to use this word. Nothing about that loss would have been embarrassing, guys. Nothing. It just would have been a loss to another solid football team. Not great football team. Maybe you should have beat them, but like nothing about it would have been embarrassing. Let's keep going.
Gabe. 10 wins, back-to-back years. No better way for Brady to go out. Most wins by a Mizzou coach in their first 5 seasons for Eli. Momentum's going up. We get the quarterback right next year. Hopefully Bo can ball out. Hopefully another special year. This program is going the right direction. You can't argue it. MIZ. Let's go. Gabe.
All right, there you go. That was short and sweet, to the point.
Over the course of this season, this team, it feels like they've taken a sum total of at least 10 years off my life. We go into every halftime down and rally in the second half. And I think that really epitomizes Brady Cook's career. He has the clutch gene to a T. When you need him to come through, he will make the plays required for him to come through. That includes the deep bomb to Speedy, who, if he leads him a little bit more, it's a touchdown, but whatever. We still got the touchdown on the drive. Brady Cook is clutch, which concerns me for the future, because Drink just wants to like dink and dunk through the first half. And then in the second half, they really turn it on. Well, you can do that when Brady Cook is a phenomenally clutch quarterback. But in the second half of games in the future, I am not convinced that Drink's play calling style will work. But I don't care about that today. I'm just happy we got the win. Congrats to Brady Cook for going out a winner. MIZ.
So here's the question. Is that how Eli Drinkwitz approaches games because that's how Eli Drinkwitz wants to approach games? Or is that how he approaches games because he thinks with the teams he's had the last 2 years, that's how he has to approach games? We'll see. I don't know what Bo Perbula is, or Sam Horn if he starts or whatever. You bring in Kevin Coleman, you bring in Ahmad Hardy. Like, next year's team's going to be different. Maybe next year's team goes out and scores 45 every game. I don't know. But my point is, good coaches win games because they adapt the way they play a game to the talent they have. Eli Drinkwitz is a damn good football coach. Can you nitpick? Sure. Are there some things here and there? Should have gone for it here, or shouldn't have done this, or whatever? Sure. You can do that with anybody. Eli Drinkwitz 21-5 in his last 26 games. There are not very many coaches in the country that can say that. And he's done it at a place that doesn't do 21-5 a whole I got a point I want to bring up, speaking of Drinkwitz, in a minute, but I want to get Jovan's comment in the super chat on the screen. Great win, 10-3. Now let's build a new team. Okay, with the wide receiver core, they have to get playing time to get better. The O-line needs help. Yeah, I didn't think the O-line was terrible today. I thought early Brady was creating a lot of the pressure. I thought he was holding the ball too long. O-line not perfect, but again, like, they lost their right tackle and center for this game. I'm not going to judge them today. And you are probably talking, Javon, like bigger picture. And yeah, Keegan Trost at right tackle is he the solution? We'll see. I mean, he started at Wake Forest, so we'll see. Dominic Giudice, if again, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. Is he a starter next year? Or is Logan Reichert or Tristan Wilson? The left tackle, Johnny Williams from West Virginia, only played 7 or 8 games this year. Played well late. Is he your starter at left tackle? We'll see. There's a lot of questions there. I agree on the offensive line. But, look, we came into this year saying, look at everything they're bringing back on offense. They're going to be great. They really weren't. So, yeah, they lose a lot off this offense. But this is an offense that we spent most of the year saying was disappointing. So, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. So I mentioned I had a thing I wanted to bring up with Drinkwitz. I'm curious, and just leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll get to them in a few minutes. Missouri has the ball 4th and 1.5 yards with, I don't know, right about 2 minutes left, right around the 2-minute warning. I tweeted, I said, I understand you probably can't go for it, but I would really think about going for it. And I think Eli Drinkwitz really thought about going for it. He didn't go for it. He punted the ball away. Terrible punt. It's a shame that was Luke Bauer's last punt. Like, he's a good kid and had a great one earlier in the game. It's too bad that was his last one. I'm glad it didn't burn him. So the way Drinkwitz played it worked. And also, it's the way you have to play it. Like, you have to punt that ball. You can't give it to Iowa on the 34-yard line or whatever it would have been. Completely understand why he did it. Just kind of thought, in a bowl game, I wouldn't hate going for it. And that's where we get back to how much stock do you put in winning or losing this game, right? Like, I'd have gone for it because the 1.5 yards ices the game, and losing this game doesn't really matter that much to me. But again, I'm not criticizing Drinkwitz. Obviously, what he did, it's what 99% of coaches would do. It worked. It was smart. I just think it's an interesting talking point to bring up a little bit. Let's get back to the voicemails.
Gabe, awesome finish to the year. But I want to know, is Corey Batoon a good defensive coordinator? Iowa has a terrible offense. Is it just lack of talent? Or is he just not it? Thanks, Gabe. Go Tigers. Gabe.
Don't know when that was left. Missouri's defense was really, really good in the second half. I don't think it's great. I do think there's a lack of talent in the secondary. I think they need more. I don't think Marvin Burks should be assured of a starting job next year. I don't think Toriano Pride should be assured of a starting job next year. Like, you're opening Drayden Norwood, largely pretty good. But yeah, they need more on the back end of that defense. No question. They're going after safeties in the portal. I know they've got a cornerback visiting next week. I think they should go after some corners in the portal. But I wrote this, I think, in my instant reaction, maybe in the halftime thoughts. I don't know. But I don't like to immediately say after a game, the scheme sucked or the play calling sucked, because I'm not going back and watching plays from overhead and watching plays 5 times to really know, hey, was the scheme flawed? Was it executed? What happened? Right. So Corey Batoon had a defense that I think largely was better than we expected this year. It wasn't great. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than I think we thought it was going to be. And so if I said, Kirby Moore had a little bit of an off year, I think Batoon was overall probably better than I thought he was going to be. This wasn't an elite defense, but it was a defense that gave them a chance to win most games. They had one awful day at Texas A&M, and then a pretty bad day at South Carolina. I was going to say a bad drive, but it was more than that. Lenora Sellers lit them up. They had 2 really bad days in 13. So do you get an A for that? No, probably not. It's probably more like a B. But first-year defensive coordinator, a B, it's not. You don't run him out of town for it. I'm not saying he should win the Broyles Award, but he gets another year.
What is up, Gabe? This is Josh calling from Rapid City, South Dakota. Mizzou, great finish to the season. As I've said several times before, I don't really care too much about the bowl games, but I'm glad that it was an entertaining game and it was a fun game and the players seemed into it enough that you could say it mattered to them. And it was an exciting game. And I know a lot of people were kind of disgusted by the Iowa matchup when the bowl game was announced, but I think Iowa and Mizzou are kind of similar as programs, and that's a team that still, manages to win a lot of games. They're still a strong brand in college football. There's a lot of tradition there. I would say that was a good win, and to get 10 wins in back-to-back seasons, it's a good accomplishment for this program. And Brady Cook, I've been really critical of him over time, but I thought he had a really nice last game for this team and made some winning plays in it. Despite all of his receivers, dropping like flies. I mean, that's the most impressive part to me. Drinkwitz continues to be a really good coach in close games, despite some game management blunders. When it comes down to it, he seems to make the right decisions, and his team seems to execute in close games. So I'm just really proud of this team. Disappointing a little bit this year in SEC play, but overall, another really good season and another step forward for this program. Thanks, Gabe.
Agreed with it all, Josh. Can't argue with much of that at all.
Gabe, Jarod, Jacob in DC here. What a win. There was a moment, maybe the second defensive drive in the second half, where you could kind of see the defense kind of decide they wanted to win this game. I think that was a major turning point. I think maybe the drive or two before the Toriana Pride interception, that was an incredible turning point. Also, Brady Cook, one tough SOB. I really wanted Drink to go for the final 4th down there because you've got the toughest guy on the field who will never wear, pads and a helmet again, living out his 12-year-old dream to get 1 yard to win the game. I would have liked to see that happen, but I obviously have no qualms with the result. So, MIZ, thanks for a great season on the football pod.
Yeah, Jacob, agree again with almost all that. I don't remember kind of exactly when the defense flipped the switch, but at some point they did. And I think here's a play that I think kind of got things going in the right direction. And ultimately it didn't really change anything because Iowa scored on the next play. But if you guys remember the scramble where Sullivan looked like the Family Circus cartoon, right? Like he was all the way on one side of the field, then he spun and went backwards 10 yards, comes all the way back to the other side of the field. He's going to score, and it is going to be a demoralizing touchdown. I think eventually that score made it 21-14. But I mean, it is going to be a play that you go, we missed 3 tackles, and we had guys running around chasing this dude that shouldn't be looking like Lamar Jackson, but he does. And then Joseph Charleston came out of absolutely nowhere and just destroyed Sullivan like a half a yard before he scored. Now, again, Iowa scored on the next play. So it wasn't like that play was the turning point. But I think from a mentality, that play was a little bit of a turning point. And I think it might have kind of gotten Missouri going. Now, you couldn't keep a guy out of the end zone from 1.5 feet on the next play. But I think maybe it was, hey, guys, we can do this. Let's start playing like we can do this. And they did.
Hey, I'd like to see you guys rank the Mizzou quarterbacks since Brad Smith. Thanks.
Man, this is so hard to do. I don't know how Chase Daniel's not number 1, right? he took them to number 1 in the country. He was number 4 in the Heisman voting. I understand he had a lot around him, all that, but Chase is he's got to be the guy. He's got to be one. I put Brad Smith too. I'm biased. I grew up watching, like a lot of you guys did, a lot of really bad Missouri football, right? Until Corby came along. And then they had 2 years that were a lot of fun. But I've said this a million times. A player's legacy is often defined by what comes after him. What came after Corby was nothing. What came after Corby was Larry Smith getting fired because they had nothing behind him. What came after Brad was Chase Daniel in 2007 and number 1 in the country and legitimate national title hopes and all that. That doesn't happen without Brad. And like, this isn't conjecture. I wrote a story on Brad before last season because it was the 20-year anniversary of the Illinois game. And I asked Chase Daniel, if Brad Smith hadn't done what he did at Missouri, would you have come here? And he said, probably not. Missouri probably wouldn't even have been on my radar. So, like 2007, Brad Smith wasn't on the team, but it happened because of Brad. And Brad's the only Missouri quarterback I've watched that has broken NCAA records, not Missouri records, NCAA records. I have him number 2. Number 3, it just all kind of depends what is it like the most physically talented? I mean, I don't know. That's probably Blaine Gabbert, if we're being honest. Is it the stats? Then I guess it's Drew Lock. But I think number 3, you can make a pretty good argument, is either James Franklin or Brady Cook. Just because of the way they played the game and what they meant. Again, like talent, Brady's probably, I think he'll get in an NFL camp. I don't think Brady ever starts an NFL football game. I don't think Brady does in the NFL what Drew Lock did yesterday. So in that sense, is Drew Lock a better quarterback? Sure. But at Missouri, who was a better quarterback? It's really hard to assess because if you give Drew Lock Brady Cook's defense, I think Drew Lock's pretty damn good. So to me, it's Chase 1, Brad 2, and then, I don't know, Gabbert, Daniel, Lock, Franklin, Cook. Or I'm sorry, Gabbert, Franklin, Lock, and Cook. It's personal preference. I don't know how you would rank them. It kind of depends on what you're looking for in a quarterback and what the rest of your team is like. I think that's really what it comes down to. Let's get back to the voicemails.
Gabe, quick question. Boston College, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and now Iowa. I'm pretty sure all of us thought we were going to lose those games, and somehow we won it. How in the world is that possible? What is happening? Are we going to go 5-7 next year because of all this devil magic? Like, what in the world? Like, I'm actually a little bit scared. Now, this is awesome, but how in the world have we won all of these games?
They made plays, and they believe they're going to win these games. Jarod Hamilton and I we'll talk about it when he gets back up in the press box. We're talking about it over text during the game, and it was kind of mid-third quarter. We're like, hey, who's going to win? And I think it was 24-21 at that point, or 21-14. I don't know. But basically, I said, if Iowa scores here, I think Iowa's going to win. It was late third quarter. But then Missouri got to stop, and they're still within 1 score, and you're going, hey, this is kind of what Missouri does. And at some point, it ceases to be pure luck or a fluke, right? Like, are there some lucky things involved? Sure. Does the other team have to contribute at times? Sure. But it's at some point, winning does become part of who you are and a skill. And I think they're now, I've lost track in 1-score games what they are over the last 2 years. At one point, it was 8-1. I don't know. I'll look it up real quick. I'll try to go through it. This year in 1-score football games, Missouri was 1-0 over Boston College, 2-0 Vanderbilt, 3-0 Auburn, 4-0 Oklahoma, 4-1 South Carolina, 5-1 Arkansas, 6-1 Iowa. So they're 6-1 this year. And then last year in 1-score games, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. So they're 10-1 in one-score games over the last 2 years. Now, as Eli Drinkwitz pointed out, LSU and Georgia could have been one-score games, and they weren't because of plays Missouri didn't make late. So it's not a perfect stat. But at some point, winning becomes a part of who you are. Good teams believe they're going to win those football games, and they do it more often than not. Missouri's a good football team. That's really what it is. Now, is there a chance they go 2-4 in one-score games next year, and we go, see, we knew it had to even out? Absolutely. Absolutely, there's that chance, because the difference between a bad season and a good season is like 3 plays. The difference between a good season and a great season is 2 plays. I mean, I think the difference between a good season and a great season this year was 1 play at South Carolina. You change 1 play, they win that game. And we're talking about a second straight 11-win season, maybe a playoff, who knows? And that changes everything. So the difference between a bad team and a great team, honestly, guys, it's like 6 plays over the course of an entire season. So yeah, it could all even out. Maybe Missouri's just had a great run of really good luck. I tend to believe it's a little something more than that. Bill Gwynn, appreciate the super chat, man. Appreciate you joining us, guys. We've had over 500 people here pretty much the whole show for 45 minutes. I do really appreciate you guys spending your time with us here, and want to take a minute to remind you, and before Jarod Hamilton gets back to the press box, and we're going to finish up the show with a couple more voicemails and then have Jarod on for a little bit before he's got to go right. But want to remind you to support our friends at Yuengling. I know you guys all know, but they've been a part of this whole 21-5 run. They've been a part of every post-game show. We skipped one when I was in Europe last year. But other than that, I think we've done 25 post-game shows. They've all been sponsored by our friends at Yuengling. You can check them out at yuengling.com if you are 21 or older. Better than that, check them out in person if you're 21 and older. Whether you like the cans, whether you like the flight, whether you like the classic green bottles, whatever. Go pick yourself up some Yuengling. There's a Missouri basketball game on tonight you can watch. Crack one open while we're finishing up this show. Maybe go have dinner, see the kids, whatever, play with some Christmas toys. Crack another one open, watch the Missouri basketball game. Either way, we do ask you to support our friends at Yuengling, America's oldest brewery. Got a couple more voicemails here, so let's run through those.
Gabe, quick question.
Gabe, it's Schiff. We were talking about the offense and how it looked otherworldly compared to what we've seen the rest of this season, and I don't know what to make of it. You don't make big conclusions from small sample sizes as a sports writer, as I learned from you. That was some ass kissing. But we had so many moments this season where we said, where is Luther Burden? So to say that him not playing had an impact on the offense opening up, I feel like doesn't really seem right. What say you? Gabe, it's shit.
Yeah, I don't like the take your best player away and you get better on offense, so I agree there. Look, is it as simple as Brady Cook was healthy? I mean, Eli Drinkwitz did say yesterday he had a broken bone in his wrist, which is what I had initially heard, and nobody would ever confirm it, so I couldn't write it. But he played the last 3 games with a broken bone in his wrist. Is it, hey, everything just feels good, the ankle's better, the wrist is better, and that's the quarterback he is? Is it you had 3 weeks to plan and Kirby Moore came up with some stuff that works? Is it Marquise Johnson was finally healthy and a part of the game plan? Is it the Big Ten actually kind of sucks and Iowa's defense isn't as good as it looks? I don't know. It's probably some combination of all of those, right? I think it's a little too simple to say, well, if they just would have called those plays or done that all season long, they'd be in the playoff. I mean, it might be true. But it was a little bit stop and start still today. Wasn't perfect. Stalled out a couple times. Had to kick field goals. Had the lull there late in the second, early in the third quarter. But that's when the defense woke up and kept him in it and allowed him to get the job done. Andrew with the super chat, $1 for every win this season on to the Bo era. Appreciate you, Andrew. I hope that means you'll do the same for basketball, and Missouri wins like 34 basketball games. But do appreciate you being here. And I know, Andrew, you've been a part of most of our shows all season long, so I want to thank you for that. All right, guys, here's the moment you've been waiting for. I know it. I know how these shows go. There was a request in the chat for it earlier. no further ado.
Gabe, Tiger Carey, Merry Christmas. Tigers tried to give it away, but good Lord is smiling on Brady Cook. We got it done today. Glad to send him off in style. Gabe, you know I bleed black and gold. It was hard for me to even get excited about this one. Too many bowls these days. I did not need to see 6-6 UConn play Ozark Baptist College in the Depends plus-size diaper bowl, okay? Don't need to see Chattanooga Pipefitters Union playing Little Sisters of the Poor and their 40 fans in the Repossess Your Mobile Home Bowl. Heck, if I want to see two losers fight, I'll go down to a local bar, pay my cousins Zeke and Mitch to punch each other till one of them starts crying. Heck, they even got a Pop-Tarts bowl, Gabe, where the MVP chooses a flavor of Pop-Tart. They burn the thing alive in a giant toaster, and the MVP eats him. I wouldn't tell my preacher or my grandma I watched that. That's some bad voodoo, brother. I may even get myself a Tiger Terry bowl, sell a few extra hogs. Winning coach gets dunked in Busch Light, and each player gets 2 cans of Long Cut and $10 store credit at any local Casey's. Gabe, somebody needs to teach the NCAA about a little economics. That the lack of supply or perceived lack of supply has an indirect correlation to the value of something, Gabe. Heck, I'm a dumb redneck. Even I can understand that. Is it too late to fix these bowls, Gabe, or is it just a giant money grab? Fight Tiger.
Phenomenal guy. I mean, what am I supposed to say there? First of all, I want to meet Tiger Terry's family. Zeke, I think he's had an Aunt Becky he told us about earlier. Zeke and Mitch maybe were the cousins. I do want it on the record. I have exchanged emails with Tiger Terry. We are considering a podcast with Tiger Terry coming up. When I told him I got to get through the portal in the football season, but it could happen. I want you to know it is out there and under consideration. Tiger Terry, I got to know, man. Like if we do a podcast, I got to know if he writes these down. I got to know if this is rehearsed or does he just hit the speak pipe button and he just goes. I don't know, but I love it. I know if Tiger Terry ever starts a Mizzou website, I'm screwed. Like you guys are getting it done, man. You're going to Tiger Terry's site. I don't even think I'd blame you. Let's see. Stuart West says best thing about the bowl game, getting an idea on some of the younger players. Yeah, Marquise Johnson looked good, obviously. How about Tavoris Jones, man? Getting out there. He's a guy that I think we've all kind of tried to put in the transfer portal, but he got out there and made some plays. But really, I don't feel like it was a lot of young guys that I learned. I saw Nick Rodriguez a little bit, saw Jeremiah Beasley out there, but like I feel like it was kind of the guys we expected it to be. Theo in the first half, Brady Cook all game, right? I mean, Mitchell Walters is the replacement at right tackle. Like, I don't feel like this was a whole bunch of guys that we hadn't seen play that are going to play big parts next year, which is, again, why I'm not big on, hey, this is a springboard for next season. Like, this was a really nice win for today, but I don't think there were a lot of guys that I said, oh, man, leading into next year now, that really gives me hope outside of probably Marquise Johnson. Like the close games or not, and I don't, drinks record in those games, and most school wins in 5 years, says the guy does something right. Look, I don't know how you can have a problem with Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, I took a lot of heat 3 years in when he was 17 and 19, frankly, for not kissing his ass and not being sure that he could do what he's done in the last 2 years. But now he's done it. Like, why am I going to doubt him now? He's done it. Does that mean there's never a step back that next year is automatically 10? Of course not. I don't know what the hell is going to happen next year. But he's 21-5, which makes him 38-24 as Missouri's head coach. It's pretty good, guys. I got no complaints. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up, guys. There have been so many comments, and do appreciate having all of you guys here. I have fallen way behind. However, I am about to be saved by the bell because I see my guy Jarod Hamilton has popped into the green room from the press box at Nissan Stadium, so I don't have to stall anymore. We can get the first hand to count. Jarod, what's going on, man? Finally got back up after bowl post games or something else, man. Those things drag on a while.
Yeah, Iowa went first, and then, there's a little lull for, like they did players first, and there's a bit of a lull for Ferentz. And then Ferentz only went maybe 7-8 minutes, and then another little bit of wait, and then we had Drink and the players at the same time for about 20 minutes. pretty much, I mean, he obviously Drink's proud of his guys. I mean, big win. Defense clutched up at the end. 3 second half points. You know, you sent me the stat about the 24 yards on 10 plays, no first downs. You know, I think one of the more interesting things about this game is something no one knew is at the end of the press conference, Drink said, you know, Johnny Walker had some type of injury. He didn't disclose what this injury was, but he thought Johnny would be a late scratch. And he said, if Johnny was my son, I wouldn't have let him play. And Johnny was just like, no, I want to play. He ended up playing, getting 2 sacks, finishes the year with 9.5. That's the most since Shane Ray got 14 in 2014. So, I mean, that second half of the season, if you go look at his stats, he maybe had 1 or 2 sacks the first 6 or 7 games, and he really turned it on. Obviously, Brady Cook had a pretty solid game. There's a couple of lulls in there, but, I mean, he started off really hot, and then he led, scoring drive at, towards the end. Instead of Blake Craig, who scored 2 field goals. Both were Music City Bowl records. The first one broke the first record, and then the 56-yarder broke his own record. So, I mean, what a confidence boost for, player who's had struggles throughout the season. Even Kirk Ferentz said, they knew from pretty much the 25-yard line and in, so around that 40-ish, 42-yard range and in, he's been pretty good. But we know from 40 to 4, like as far as field goals, 40 to 49-yard field goals, it's like 1 of 9 or something on the season.
Right, you just got to get further back.
Yeah, so was it 51, 52 on that first one, and then 56? Funny moment, Blake said, somebody asked him, what happens when you go up for a field goal? What are some of those thoughts you're having? And Blake said, I black out before kicks, and Drinks cut him off and was just like, that explains a lot. so they laughed about that. I mean, there was Speedy Johnson was up there. I asked Drink about a question I asked him a couple weeks ago, which was, you got Kevin Coleman in the portal, obviously to fill that slot role, but are you kind of going to let your young guys, duke it out for that wide receiver 3 spot? And I remember he told me his job isn't to give out starting positions and to give out roles, but to create opportunities for kids or for players. And Speedy took, advantage of his opportunity with a career day, 7 for, I think, 122. I got to look back at it.
Yeah.
And did he have a touchdown? Yeah, and he had a touchdown.
Yes.
So 7, 122 and a touchdown. This is kind of what you would hope comes out of bowl games like this, especially for guys and maybe for us, as outsiders, we don't necessarily see a player for everything they can do. So maybe he was going to be in the starting lineup regardless last year. But I know for someone like me, I was like, I can see it, but I can also see if they want to go in the portal and get somebody else. This is what a game like this is for. But all around, obviously, they felt great, closing it out for the seniors. And they were talking about the toxicity of the team for about 2-3 years ago, and how, a lot of guys had to be weeded out, how there was guys leaving left and right, and how players like Johnny and Brady kind of built it up to where it is now. And they kind of turned it back on Drink and said, I mean, Drink kind of set this new foundation and culture, and that's why they're 21-5 in their last 26 games. That's why they're 11-1, I think, in their last 12 one-score games. Part of that is culture and knowing, like, when it gets to certain times of the game, this is what we know. We know what the objective is. We know what the mission is. This is how we're going to execute it, and doing that, and not, kind of turning on each other, or whatever the cases may have been in the past, and being able to get that job done. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were texting in the third quarter, and who's going to win? I said, if Missouri's within 1 score at the start of the fourth quarter, I think they win, and they managed to do that. And like, at some point, winning those games becomes a part of who you are. It's not just a lucky accident at this point.
Yes, and you know what? I've compared this team to the Chiefs for so long. They do so many Chief-like things. There was a moment maybe it was it was the fourth quarter, I'm pretty sure, with that last field goal. When they scored on that field goal drive, they got bailed out twice. They got bailed out because there was a late hit out of bounds, and then that crazy trick play when Marquise throws it back, it gets tipped and it's counts a pass deflection. Where I'm sitting in the press box, I couldn't see if it was a forward pass or not. But it was a risky play nonetheless. And so they get kind of bailed out, and they're able to get the field goal. And that's a lot of things people say about about the Chiefs, like, oh, they're bailed out. Blah, blah, blah. Well, think about all the other plays around that you have to succeed in to be able to come back, to be able to make these plays. I was just thinking right as we was leaving the press conference, because Drink, said just kind of hell of a play on that 4th and inches play, basically to end the game. I was thinking, well, yeah, that's a pretty big play. But you know what else is a big play? Dalen Carnell on the play before that, setting it up to be 4th and inches. And I don't know if Dalen Carnell is like, this is exactly where the line to gain is. I need to be here. Right. But the fact that he made the play and he got the tackle to even set that up, that's part of those things. Like, winning is something that I do think the more you do it, it kind of becomes a trait, like being a winner and knowing how to finish things. And that's what this team is.
Yeah. Sean Kurtz brings up a good point. What if Jarod is Tiger Terry? Tiger Terry was just on right before you, and then you came on. What if Jarod is calling in as Tiger Terry? I like that. Real quick, guys, I see you guys are asking me about Ant Robinson. Look, when this show's over, I'm going to go over and cover the basketball game. I don't know. I'm not there. I've seen nothing. I'm going to get there. Drew King's back home for Christmas. I told him I'd take this one tonight, so I'm going to get over there. We'll find out after the game, but right now I've got absolutely no idea. So kind of like quintessential Brady Cook. This was Brady's best game this year. Is that fair to say?
I like the South Carolina game, but yes, I'm not going to say the South Carolina game is up there, but this one, because I tweeted about it, maybe I was the jinx. He went 9 or I think it was 9 of 10 or 8 of 9 when I tweeted this, 8 of 9 for 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I said, this is the most dominant I've seen him since, in my opinion, the 2023 game against Vanderbilt, because it looked like he could just hit any pass he wanted to hit. Everything was good. Of course, got a little streaky after that, but then he closed the game out well. And I mean, like you said, quintessential Brady Cook, don't get off to the best start. I think they go 3 and out. Then they get a field goal, I think, or they come back with a scoring touchdown, and things just got real easy for the team. And then, of course, in the clutch, 4 minutes or less, that's kind of his thing. So quintessential Brady Cook game for sure.
So I had brought this up. I'm curious. I think we texted briefly about it, but did anybody ask Drinkwitz if he thought about going for it on 4th and 1? With like 2 minutes left, right before they punted back to Iowa?
No.
Because ultimately it didn't matter.
It's one of those things.
What he did is what 99% of coaches would do. It worked. I have no problem with it.
Right.
But at the time, I thought, man, it's tempting to just tell Brady, hey, take off, go get us 2 yards.
No one asked that question, and like you said, comes a moot point when you win the game or whatever, but that's definitely a thought I had. But I don't know. Their defense did what they needed.
Nothing wrong with punting it. Yeah.
Yeah, their defense. It was kind of. Oh, here's something.
It's not like Lenora Sellers was on the other side.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. He said in the second half, and Drink has had this a few times this year, where he's just like, basically, we had him where we want him. when it doesn't look like that, but he was like in this. Basically, at halftime, they knew they could just stop the quarterback from running and force him to pass, which would, should have been the game plan all along. But, as long as it comes at some point, better late than never. If they force him to pass, they can get something going. Obviously, how about Toriano Pride getting that kind of contested interception? It wasn't like a gimme. Kind of had to work for that one a little bit. So, the defense, I feel like he was just pretty confident in the defense at that point in the game and what they were able to do and how they were able to limit, what Iowa could do. So I think it was more of a defense is rolling now. Let's force their quarterback, who doesn't really want to pass the ball that much. Let's force him to make some tough throws, especially after they had already got the interception to tie the game in the first place.
Right. When you look back over the course of this whole season, what's like the one game you most remember out of this? Is it today or is it something else?
The most memorable game, there's 2. It's the South Carolina game, just because of everybody knows. Even Corey Batoon said it yesterday. He alluded to it. you're one possession away from, being in a really good, fortunate spot. We all kind of know what he's alluding to. So obviously that game, but for me, I think the best game of the season was the Oklahoma game. Like it was kind of not great for most of the game. And then I don't know, 28, 30 points or something in the last few minutes of the game. And that was a good, was that game after South Carolina? It was a week before. It was
before.
But that was kind of something they desperately needed because they were kind of shaky. The last couple of games, or lost 2, last 4 or 5 or something like that. It just looked a little shaky. So that was a cool game, especially considering that's the Drew Pine game.
Right. So the two I think just best game, most memorable game, clearly Oklahoma. The one that I remember from like a storyline and from this was the Brady Cook game is always going to be Auburn.
Right.
Yeah. But and today was fun, but like to me, I don't know, if Missouri would have lost this game, I wouldn't have drawn any big conclusions. So there weren't the stakes in this that there were. And like winning is great. You're 10-3. You can sell that. Obviously, it's a good day. Fans should be happy. But if they lost this game, it wasn't going to change anything for me.
Well, you know what every team's favorite thing to do with bowl games is: if you win, we went 10-3. If you lose, we went 9-3. Like, and in that sense, it is an exhibition, which was the joke of the press box. Anytime Missouri did anything, it's an exhibition game. It doesn't really matter all that much. So,
love it. Okay, so Mark wants to know if you asked Corey Batoon if he would ever stop playing prevent defense. I mean, they prevented Iowa from getting a first down in the fourth quarter, so I thought that was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a tale of two halves. Now, I didn't get to ask this question. Here's one I wanted to ask. Well, I guess there's a couple. What happened on the kick return, and what are the kick return rules for Missouri's kick returners? Why?
Can you please stop returning kickoffs ever? Yes.
I don't get it. It's the 25? I always get
25 if you fair catch it. Yeah.
25 if you fair catch it or get the touchback with the kneel or whatever. Stop taking the ball out. And that's not really just a Missouri problem. That's teams, period. It doesn't work out well almost ever. Now,
unless you're Iowa.
Yeah, you get it. But even in that was poor special teams, on the coverage unit, because the Iowa guy ran in a straight line pretty much. He didn't have to zigzag his way through anything. It was a pretty straight line. So I need to know what the return rules are, what happened on the kick return, and then I guess going back to your question about the punt, I'm sure Drink in his mind would want that punt back late in the fourth quarter because it was 26 yards. I mean, they won the game, but I mean, objectively, when you go for a 26-yard punt, you're just thinking, well, dang, I could have just risked it another way and gave my best player the ball, and he didn't. But, moot point.
Yeah. Mitchell's asking if Blake Craig got any mentions. Yeah, both Jarod and I shouted him out. I said he was my MVP for the game. And I even said, honestly, like coming into this game, I said Missouri should go get a kicker out of the portal. I don't think they should now. He won the job to me. That's good enough. Don't waste the roster spot. He proved he can do it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, strong, clutch performance, and I think at times we forget still just a redshirt freshman. Right. And his leg, when you look at the 56 yarders, it was 56 with room to spare. Yeah. So when you got that type of power, especially when you're going from a Harrison Mevis, like if you can keep that and he keeps developing his confidence, keeps being in these situations, I mean, the best thing is the hard part for him is the kicks he should make, which sounds bad, but those 40 to 49 yards, he'll be able to fix that with time is what you hope for. You don't know if someone can just get a stronger leg and be able to kind of somewhat consistently hit from 50, 55 plus.
Yeah. I had one more thing I was going to kind of wrap up with asking you. I have no idea what it was. I've completely forgotten. I know that they're planning to shut the press box down relatively soon. So
yeah, they're going to drop kick me out the press box in a few minutes. So I'm probably going to have to wrap up from the hotel in a little bit. But fun season.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Cotton Bowl like, not 11-2, but still pretty good season. And
I said top 10 season in Missouri history, not top 5.
For sure.
That's what I think it was.
So, if that's the baseline, that's good. If that's the baseline,
absolutely.
it's 10-3, or we can be 9-3. Let's just be honest, 9-3, really. Pretty good.
Yeah, he can go out and sell, hey, this is what we do now. We win 10 games, So, all right, Jarod, appreciate everything down there, man. I know you got a ton coming. I hope you maybe make that stop by Hattie B's again on the way back to the hotel and do some writing. I'm going to head over to basketball in a minute.
Will do. I've done it back-to-back days. Do I have time to wait in a line this time? Not if I want to leave ASAP tomorrow. So we're gonna see.
All right, man. Appreciate you. We'll be in touch.
All right.
All right, Jarod Hamilton from Nissan Stadium live in Nashville. Guys, again, we had almost 500 people here throughout the show. I would go a little bit longer, but I'm trying to get over to a basketball game, so we're going to do that. I want to leave you with two things. First of all, I want to remind you one last time this football season, please support our sponsors. They have made everything we do possible. Yuengling Brewery, Yuengling Lager. They have supported us for 2 years. They have been fantastic friends to Power Mizzou. Mike Benning has done a lot for us, and so give him a personal shout out. And again, whether it's the lager, whether it's the black and tan, whether maybe there's still some Oktoberfest out there, whatever, pick yourself up some Yuengling. Watch the Mizzou basketball game tonight. Whatever you're going to do, maybe spend some time with family, 6-pack, 12-pack, however much it is you need to get through family time here at the end of the holiday break. So I appreciate that. And guys, I can only think of one appropriate way to send you out for the final Yuengling postgame live show of the 2024 football season. And I know you've already heard it, but in case you weren't here the whole time or in case you didn't hear it earlier, I'm not going to send you out because this football season was not about me. You know who's going to send you out? Tiger Terry's going to send you out. We'll see you later.
Gabe. Tiger Terry. Merry Christmas. Tigers tried to give it away, but good Lord is smiling on Brady Cook. We got it done today. Glad to send him off in style. Gabe, I bleed black and gold. It was hard for me to even get excited about this one. Too many bowls these days. I did not need to see 6-6 UConn play Ozark Baptist College in the Depends plus-size diaper bowl, okay? Don't need to see Chattanooga Pipefitters Union playing Little Sisters of the Poor and their 40 fans in the Repossess Your Mobile Home Bowl. Heck, if I want to see two losers fight, I'll go down to a local bar, pay my cousins Zeke and Mitch to punch each other till one of them starts crying. Heck, they even got a Pop-Tarts bowl, Gabe, where the MVP chooses a flavor of Pop-Tart. They burn the thing alive in a giant toaster, and the MVP eats him. I wouldn't tell my preacher or my grandma I watched that. That's some bad voodoo, brother. I may even get myself a Tiger Terry bowl, sell a few extra hogs. Winning coach gets dunked in Busch Light, and each player gets 2 cans of Long Cut and $10 store credit at any local Casey's. Gabe, somebody needs to teach the NCAA about a little economics. That the lack of supply or perceived lack of supply has an indirect correlation to the value of something, Gabe. Heck, I'm a dumb redneck. Even I can understand that. Is it too late to fix these bowls, Gabe, or is it just a giant money grab? Fight Tiger. Gabe. Tiger Terry. Merry